What's going on, guys? Kaz Cray here with the Baltimore State Dynasty Season 2 offseason. The Stallions definitely had a pretty successful year too. Unfortunately, they didn't win the Conference USA championship game. But that's just our goal for next year, I would say. Unfortunately, we're going to be losing a lot of guys, but this isn't like the hard part of any dynasty. So let's take a look at our senior stats. Lewis Gibson ends his career with 40 touchdowns and 27 interceptions. He definitely had an improved year passing yards wise and completion percentage wise as well. And he even improved in the rushing totals as well. He had 734 yards, doubled his rushing total, 9 rushing touchdowns again this year, but he did almost double his fumbles as well. Jacob Spain, a lot more active in the passing game as a receiver. And he also almost tripled his rushing yard total and almost quadrupled his rushing touchdown total. So it's definitely probably going to be in the Jets franchise. But didn't have as many kick returns for touchdowns this year, but still won Best Return Man of the Year. Definitely going to miss Jacob Spain. Now we look at Muhasibi Conley. Didn't have that great of a year receiving. He was like the 5th receiver most of the time. But he was a pretty good special teamer. He had 8 tackles this year. Adam Lewis had a poor senior season. He gave up 5 more sacks than he did last year. Judah Stevens got 2 pancakes but allowed 3 sacks again. Lawrence Albert, 77 tackles this year. Had a great season. Lakeem Foster, 10 sacks, 43 tackles, 20 tackles for loss. Matthew Hudson, 8 sacks. He had a pretty decent season. And that's pretty much it for all of our main seniors. And we look at the passing totals. Of course, Franklin Jones gonna be the man going forward next year, unless Jesse Garner really shows me something in the offseason. Jacob Spain led the team in rushing yards. Jordan Burrell actually is very disgruntled with Baltimore State, so he may not be back. So Josh Seymour might be the man next year. So watch the rest of the video to find out about that. Javier Harewood just shy of 1,000 yards. So is Jimmy Blackman. 8 touchdowns for Harewood, 6 for Blackman. 5 touchdowns for Aldrin Johnson, who is actually the #1 receiver. He's not like doing as well as the 2 and 3, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Bobby Williams, the freshman right guard, really struggled this year. Gave up 10 sacks. He's going to have to improve if he wants to keep his starting job. Isaiah Kegler led the team in tackles with 79. Kevin Hodges led the team in sacks with 15. He's going to be a great player going forward for us. And a lot of the guys who played did get sacks, linebackers and defensive linemen. Only 2 interceptions this year. So next year, the secondary definitely has to improve on that. Taquan Clay did have a pick 6. Isaiah Kegler led the team in pass deflections with 5 of them. Lawrence Albert had 2 forced fumbles to lead the team. And Josh Seymour recovered 3 fumbles as an offensive player. So he did a pretty good job, I would say. Looking at the kicking stats, and Philip Hayden, 9 for 9 from field goals. We didn't really kick with him too much just because his leg isn't the strongest. So anytime we're in like the 40 and 30, like between the 40 and 30, well, we'd usually just go for it or punt. But 9 field goals. Hopefully he gets better at like making long kicks. We'll have to see. Aaron Manley did a great job with kickoffs, 22 touchbacks on 89 kickoffs. That's pretty decent. Manley only punted the ball 21 times for 871 yards, but still a pretty good punter though. Jacob Spain, again, 5 kick returns for touchdowns. We're really going to miss him. But hopefully Josh Seymour will probably be the kick returner next year, and he'll do a better job. We did have our offensive coordinator leave to take a job at Buffalo. Jaden Burke heading up north to coach the Bulls. So we got Tim Albin, the former offensive coordinator from Ohio, who was fired last year. I'm not too confident about that, but it is what it is. We're going to be running a lot of pistol and shotgun this year, apparently. And look at this. Lewis Gibson got drafted, or he's projected to be drafted 7th overall. So that's pretty good. Then Russell Sands thinking about leaving, but I do see him as being a starter this year. So I decided to try to fight for him to stay, and he decided to stay. Now we look at the rest of the projected draftees. You got Sam Darnold and DeAndre Francois declaring for the draft. Darnold's projected to be a 3rd rounder, Francois a 4th. And then Jordan Ta'amu and Lamar Jackson are projected to be 1st round picks at quarterback. And Lewis Gibson ended up getting drafted 7th. I'll definitely reflect that as we move forward into the Jets franchise. We move him forward to the Jets franchise. And if you guys want to see anybody else, any of the other seniors enter the Jets franchise, just vote in the description. I got the link in the description for the vote for that. I'm thinking Gibson and Spann are definitely locks to get in there, but if you want to see anybody else, just vote. So we move on to recruiting. We're in a battle right now for receiver Josh Bryant and tight end Lance Spurlock, who is a sub-made player. Evan McAfee's deciding between Virginia and Maryland. He's another sub-made player. Now we look at the guys we've already gotten. There's Jesse Garner. He's an 80 overall, the top quarterback in the class. 96 throw power, 82 throw accuracy, and he's a pretty mobile quarterback as well. So definitely what I'm looking for. Then we have Carlos Starks, who's one of the top receivers in the class as well. Ricky Lee Perry Paul, another guy we've already gotten. He was a sub-made player. Shout out to Mitchell. He has a few of his guys on the team that he made. Kenneth Blankenship was signed as well. He's probably going to be a developmental player. I don't know if he's ever going to start for us. And then Cedric Mosier-Dalton. He's only a 66 overall, but he has very good speed. So he definitely will be starting one day. He's probably going to be the successor to Isaiah Kegler. Then Antonio Coleman, probably a future starter at corner. Jake Pride, another sub-made player. He's going to be a developmental guy. I don't know if he'll ever start for the Stallions, but we'll have to see. And Derek Wade was a big pickup for us. I mean, he doesn't think we really have the potential to make him a pro, but we'll have to see. Very good stats for him, at least speed-wise. And now we look at the guys that we ended up signing. A few of the guys that we missed out on. John McKeon went to UTEP. Will Billings went to USC. Josh Bryant is committed to Baltimore State. So the Stallions pull in another really good receiver. Now most of the receivers that are going to be the main guys on the team are going to be juniors. So it might be. I'm definitely going to redshirt Bryant just so he can sit back and watch. But he'll definitely be a starter one day. Stephen Carr went to Nebraska. Scott Smart to Bowling Green. John Swan went to California. Josh Mitchell went to Marshall. And then Bobby Rodriguez is coming to Baltimore State as well. We'll talk more about the guys that we signed in just a moment, but now we're going to take a look at the sub-made players. And unfortunately, Lance Spurlock did not sign with Baltimore State. He's going to Wisconsin. Evan McAfee's going to Virginia instead of Maryland. But we did sign Doug Bailey, a defensive end. So now let's take a look at the guys that we missed out on. Stephen Carr heading to Nebraska. We were about 600 points short of him. Scott Smart, we missed out by that much to Bowling Green, 35 points. Lance Spurlock, we missed out on by about 700. We put 2,000 on him, but I guess he wanted to go to Wisconsin instead. John McKeon heading to UTEP, missed him by about 1,000. Not too big of a deal. We got a few receivers already. Josh Mitchell, we missed out by almost 2,000 to Marshall. And Evan McAfee decided that he was going to go to Virginia over 3,000 points. So now we look at the guys we did get. Bobby Rodriguez, there was no competition for him. Oregon really wasn't that interested in him. Doug Bailey, Notre Dame was in there, but they weren't that close as far as like getting him. Josh Bryant, we beat out Ohio State by a pretty big margin. And Jed Washington, we barely beat Akron for him, about 800 points. And that's it for recruiting. Now we look at the training results. Franklin Jones improved to a 92 overall. Jordan Burrell not going to be part of Baltimore State, so it doesn't matter. Josh Seymour up to an 84. And now the fullback, Antoine Tracy, now a 79 overall. At receiver, Aldrin Johnson to a 90. Javier Harewood an 86. Jadarius Duncan a 79. Jimmy Blackman a 79. Shelton Bentley an 85 at tight end now. Probably have him play some receiver this year as well. Tate Edison up to an 82 at left tackle. Left guard Mitchell Bulger is now a 79, heading into his junior year. EJ Lillincole an 81 at center. Bobby Williams up to a 75. He improved pretty drastically. And Jamarcus Hutton and Calvin Brace are 77, 76. Kevin Hodges now a 78 at defensive end. He looks to have another great year in his junior year. Russell Sand's going to be starting yet again as a junior. Nick Wentworth, we're going to be moving to a 3-4, so he's going to be the nose tackle. He's an 82. And Lynn Collier an 86 now for Baltimore State. Sean Walker up to a 62. Still not great, but he'll at least be a good special teamer. Isaiah Kegler an 88. Demerick Cole an 80. Jim Harris a 64 now at middle linebacker. Dwight Patrick an 84 at right outside linebacker. And Taquan Clay an 80. Brett Brown, the former quarterback, moving the corner now an 80. Deontay Muhammad, a free safety, 78. And strong safety Nordley Ford, formerly a corner, now a 79 strong safety as a senior. And Philip Hayden up to a 78 at kicker. And the punter, Aaron Manley, is at an 81 now. So now Jordan Burrell, looking at his stats for Baltimore State, he's actually transferring to Louisiana Tech. So he's pretty much pulling the Kevin Durant at this point, but he's just really not happy with the coaching staff after being benched over the last few games, even though he was really ineffective for much of the season. But he's moving on to Louisiana Tech. We will let him. So now we're going to look at the conference alignments now. We changed them up a little bit. Notre Dame now part of the ACC. So that's a pretty big change right there. They're going to join Florida State and others. The American Conference is pretty much the same. Now the Big 12, it's different because now you have Maryland and Iowa joining from the Big 10. So now it's once again a 12-team conference. Looking at the Big 10, now they're a 12-team conference. We're losing Maryland and Iowa. The Conference USA is going to stay the same. Independents, Army, UMass, and Western Kentucky. The MAC stays the same pretty much. The Mountain West stays the same for the most part. Pac-12 stays the same. And the SEC added Arkansas State and Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech left the ACC. And the Sun Belt is pretty much the same as well. And for the Power 5 conferences, now there's an automatic qualifier for any BCS Bowl, just to make it more realistic. And we're actually going to be playing Tennessee after we play Maryland, but this is pretty much the schedule for us. We're going to be playing Rice this year and Southern Miss. Well, Southern Miss is the only different opponent we had that we didn't play last year. But thank you guys for watching the offseason. Feel free to make your recruits now for Season 4. I'll start creating them as soon as the season's over. But thank you guys for watching this offseason. You have a wonderful rest of your day, night, or whenever you're watching it. And I'm out of here. Deuces.